Hi, you guys. My name is Alicia Ramos. I'm a cognitive behavioral hypnotherapist and an empowerment leader. And in this masterclass, we're going to talk about if our belief systems are what keep us stuck. So, we're going to talk about the power of the subconscious mind, as well as the fears that we have and how we can use that to our advantage. And also, lastly, how we could change our old beliefs to our new empowering beliefs. So first off, I wanted to talk about how our subconscious mind is formed and how these thoughts are keeping us. Hi, Davida, how are you? Okay, so how our subconscious mind is formed. So our subconscious mind is formed at a young age from about 0 to 8 years old. And it holds all of our positive and negative associations in it. And it is how we decide to pick up certain things, how we react, behave, and feel. All this is placed into our subconscious mind. So our subconscious is formed, like I said, from 0 to 8 years old, and it's all of our conditioning from childhood, and it's what we picked up from our parents, our caretakers, from society, media, and it is just formed in there. Like I said, it's the positive and negative associations. And when we see that our subconscious is formed, we play out certain beliefs and associations that are formed in there in everyday life. So we have certain triggers that we respond to, and it allows us to really understand how our subconscious was formed. So our subconscious, it holds 88% of our mind power, and our conscious mind only holds 12%. So that is a major difference. So if you want to have any work, it's best to focus on what is going on in your subconscious mind. So let's go to how, we create our reality. So just like in quantum mechanics, it tells us that we're the ones who create our reality based on the double slit theory. And based on the observer and what they're seeing, it could change what they decide to see, whether it was a particle or a wavelength. Based on what the observers thought they were going to see, that showed up into their reality. So just like us, it shows us that whatever is formed in our reality or in our subconscious mind, it will create our reality. So that is just a mere reflection of what's going on in our mind. So let's go to our fears and how we could actually use that. So our fears actually are a good indicator to let us know what is going on in our subconscious mind. And our fears are going to let us know if something is out of alignment, whose belief that we picked up, and whose belief we picked up, and why we are reacting or responding a certain way. So fear and excitement, they actually hold the same vibration. And what I mean by that is how you define these two words, two behaviors, two thoughts is what you're giving energy to. So you have fear, and it brings up anxiety, it brings up stress, it brings up all kinds of different emotions and behaviors that you react. And then also you have excitement on the other spectrum, and it brings up joy, excitement, motivation. But if you put them hand in hand and place them side by side, you will see that they hold the same vibration. We just give them different meanings, different emotions, and different definitions. And these definitions were based on how we grew up. So it was based on our conditioning and how we viewed things. So if your parent or somebody that you looked up to had this belief of maybe creating a business that was fearful, that they were not going to allow people to really take you seriously, you were going to get rejected, you weren't going to get validated, and they were really taking this belief, and you unconsciously picked that belief up, and you started to, went about your life, and you started playing this out. So you held this fear and this association because you saw that throughout your life. And you picked that up and you put that in your subconscious. Unconsciously, you didn't know that you picked this up. It was just this limiting belief that you picked up from somebody else. So on the other spectrum, if you have somebody who is very excited about business, an entrepreneur, and they're very motivated, they're like, oh, you have to have connections, you have to go, it's exciting, like remind yourself why you're doing it for the higher purpose, then you will have a different outlook and association in your subconscious mind. So when you could see these two different beliefs and where it came from, definitely go back and examine what you were raised with. Like for me, as an example, my father was very against entrepreneurship, and he was just like, no, you need to go and get a stable job. It's not for you. You can't do it. You're not gonna make money. You're gonna get rejected. And all this was going into my subconscious mind, where I delayed my progress in helping anybody because of what he was saying. I thought that I was always gonna get rejected, that I wasn't gonna help people, that I needed validation all the time. And I needed to be a perfectionist. I delayed my work. I wasn't good enough. And because of just these limiting beliefs. But as soon as I uncovered all these beliefs and where they came from, I started changing my associations to it. And I'm like, no, this is somebody else's belief. It's not my belief. And like I said, a lot of these beliefs are there to protect you, because as a child, when they're formed, you believe it as the absolute truth. You don't question it. It is what it is, especially when it's formed. So because you're not questioning it and you're not growing into that individuality that you have when you're maybe a preteen, 8 to about 14 years old, that's when you start to really question your identity and your individuality. You're getting more influences by society and your peers, that you really allow yourself to form your own identity. But if your subconscious and your parents are influencing you at such a young age, it's you take what they say as the absolute truth. So when you go back and you examine where these beliefs came from, it allows you more insight as to how you could change it. So for me, as an example, I had to go back, I had to examine where these beliefs came from. Like I said, they were there because they felt like they were protecting me, that they were protecting me from rejection, from validation, but ironically, they prevented me from everything that I wanted. So I wanted to help people. I wanted to go out there and give it my all. And I knew my true purpose was to, touch as many lives as I could and empower them and show them that everything is possible. But then at the same time, I had these limited beliefs that were not allowing me to go and show people that all was possible because I was so fearful. So when I went and I examined it, I had a higher purpose as to why, and that was actually motivating me to go ahead and, reach out to people and help them. So let's see. When you use fear as a good indicator to show you this belief isn't yours, it's letting you know hey, where did this, you could go back and introspect and go, how did I pick up this fear? What happened when this was formed? Who did I get it from? Whether it was my mom or dad. So does anyone want to share some fears that they may have? So maybe we could work through it together. Let's see. Hey, Davida, it's really helpful and insightful. You're being expert. So self-sabotage by procrastinating. So this goes back to the whole perfectionist mentality where everything has to be perfect before you go ahead and turn it in, because you don't want to get punished, because if it's not perfect, you're going to get punished. You're not the expert in your field. You have to look a certain way. You have to feel a certain way. You have to have so many clients out there. And honestly, that is not the real, that's just a limiting belief that we've created in our head. And it allows us to procrastinate and sabotage ourselves when we have a higher purpose that's going to allow us to transform the world. So like I said, if you have this belief that self-sabotage is, it's making you procrastinate, you have to go in and examine where this belief came from. So why is it always beneficial for you to sabotage things? You have to ask yourself, okay, it's beneficial for me to, sabotage when things are going good, or when I delay things, it's not allowing me to put myself out there. So guess what? If my work's not good enough and I know that I'm not good enough, I delay it, then I don't have to have this rejection or this fear that I'm not good enough. Nobody's going to tell me that I'm not good enough because, I delayed it so much. So that also reinforces your belief, your underlying belief that you're not good enough. So you already believe that you're not good enough, and your reality is reinforcing that you're not good enough. Let's see. Encourages me to be an awesome. So glad. Let's see. Why is it your purpose to help people? How did you find that conclusion? So that's a great question. I got into this. I was very open-minded as a young child. About 8 years old, I started learning about Zen Buddhism. I don't know why. I was just completely drawn to it. And I loved philosophy, world religions. I loved just being drawn to people. I was one of those kids that, instead of, going out, I would people watch, I would read a book. I would love being involved with people and understanding what was going on. But it also came back to my upbringing, and I didn't have that, nurturing and respect and love that I needed, that I was giving to everyone. And it gives me such joy and passion and excitement when I see people transform and encouraging them and supporting them. And I've gotten into so many situations where I was giving too much to the other people and not giving enough love to myself. So it's always good to remember that, and for you to succeed in any type of business, you have to give that love and validation for yourself. And there's going to be a point where you no longer need the validation from yourself or from others. And that's very important to know and to understand, is that when you're good enough, you're good enough. So everybody that comes into your life, they already know that, and they're going to be reinforced by your actions, by your thoughts, by your beliefs, and you don't even have to question it. And that's a lot of the times what happens when it comes to our belief system. We go into businesses as entrepreneurs and we don't think that we're good enough. And we're always comparing ourselves to other people, what they're going to say, and if we're going to get rejected. And it's such a limiting mindset to have, but it was based on what we saw from our parents, what we saw in society. And, we always compare ourselves, and that is a big problem, because if you want to be successful, you can't compare yourself, because you have a special gift. You are born with a special gift. And if you weren't, if you didn't exist, then, you wouldn't be able to have this gift, because everybody has that special gift for them that they have to go out into the world. So what I do and how I, talk to people, how I transform lives, is not going to be the same as the next transformative coach. And it's not, or the next graphic designer. They're not going to do the exact same thing, but they're going to touch, they're going to understand, and they're going to, reach out a different way that actually touches the soul of that person that they're helping, because every person has a message and, a light about them that's going to go ahead and touch that person, because everybody is there exactly when they need to. Compassion is the thief of joy. Or comparison, yes, exactly. Comparison is the thief of joy. It is, because you're always comparing yourself and you're thinking that you're not good enough. And, you're seeking the validation, whether it's from one person or from 100 million people. And you really have to come to a place of acceptance that is allowing you to really accept that everything is perfect. Your path is perfect. Your journey is perfect. Every single person that you encounter, like this masterclass, everything is perfect as it needs to be, and at the time that you need to experience it. What is your ultimate goal? What is the message you want people to take away from conversation with you? So my ultimate goal is to not allow limiting beliefs get in your way. So I will admit that before going on this, I was a little fearful, because I have still a fear in front of the camera. It was just a belief that I picked up at a young age. Like my father, he was just like, no, you don't make crowds, you don't embarrass yourself. If you come in even a second late, don't even bother showing up, because you just embarrass yourself. And in high school, it was so limiting for me that when we had to give speeches, I would faint. And I would not allow myself to get my message out there. It was just too painful for me. And, that's another thing that you have to understand, that these associations aren't yours. And we have certain motivations that allow us to keep this. So we think that, this motivation is helping us. But you have to change your associations, then, acknowledge and become aware that this association or this belief was formed because of somebody else. They picked it up, and that's how they were living their life. But you don't have to go ahead and live your life the same way.